Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. This is yet another discussion video. I'm doing a few of these, basically talking about the stuff we know about 5.3. And one of the things that we got updated on is to do with the Bozjan Southern Front, or Bozjan Southern Front. I'm going to get crucified for my spelling and pronunciation as usual. It wouldn't be a Meoni video if I got something right, would it? Anyway, so the speculation comes from the 58th letter from a producer live that happened last week, and we had a nice summary video that lots of people tuned in to watch, so thank you kindly for that viewership. That's really helpful, especially in times like these, not gonna lie, so thank you kindly for watching that. But at the same time, there's lots of things that we didn't get time to really flesh out and discuss because it wasn't that kind of video, and one of them was essentially the next stage of the Relic series. So we already have the first stage of the Relic, which is the Resistance Weapon series, and pretty much that came down to a long-winded quest line that took about an hour, and then we had the turn-in of some items with Poetics in Mordona, and that's pretty much how that first stage happened. A lot of people were complaining. I saw a lot of discussion topics of how easy it was and how, it was basically a 3-weapon. Some people called it a welfare relic, which brought me back straight to World of Warcraft discussions of past. Essentially it was for free, but they did say that things will start to heat up a little bit. Things will become a little bit more difficult to work towards going forward, as we all expected. I mean, at the end of the day, does it really matter that they were given to us? Not really. They were pretty good. Average item level, 485. Not the best, not the worst, but if you don't raid in Savage, that's going to be pretty good, right? Especially between Alliance raid patches. The Alliance raid coming in 5.3 as well should have the availability to upgrade a lot of that stuff, including, I believe, we'll have access to the upgrade material from the Alliance Raid series as well, for the stuff that we would usually only get in Savage, so that'll be quite fun to upgrade the rest of our stuff. The other thing, though, is that this Bozjan Southern Front, so this is all to do with a resistance system. This time around, it is pretty much going to be another field instance, much like Eureka, so I would imagine that we'll get patches of these with different field instances. Now, if you remember back to the Alliance Raid series Return to Ivalice, you'll remember that Fran basically agreed to help us out if we helped her out, sort of thing. And obviously, a lot of places are under occupation by the Garlean forces, as is the case, as it has been for many years, in fact, in the game's lore. And obviously, since we took Alamigo and we've got a lot of resistance groups behind us now, a lot of people want in on that, and obviously they want to be liberated from that of the evil that is the Garlean Empire and their totalitarian efforts to take over the world. So from a lore perspective, it's quite interesting and definitely pushes towards the next plot, but we might see evolve into the MSQ. But in 5.3, we are getting the first of these 100-player field instances, much like the original Eureka, and it's called the Bozjan Southern Front. So the sort of things we might be able to imagine are probably lots of mechanical enemies, lots of Magitech on the go. A lot of people in the past have asked for a essential rework of the Cartano Flats. So if you remember the Realm Reborn intro with all of that Magitech versus Eorzeans, basically the Garleans and the Eorzeans fighting away there, and you used magic versus giant Magitech robots, and it's a complete bloodbath. I would imagine that this will be very similar to that sort of battlefield, obviously with fates and other things like that. And if that's not the thing that excites you, if that's the sort of thing that turns you off massively for an idea of the next stage of a relic, then you'll be pleased to know that you don't actually have to do it. Yoshi P, during the 58th live letter, confirmed there will be 2 choices on how you upgrade your weapon. You do not have to do the Bozjan Southern Front. That was the exact quote there. So that will make a lot of people smile who hate Eureka, but at the same time, the idea is that it's still going to have a lot of content locked within it, right? So I would imagine that includes things like mounts and minions and presumably more glamour, and hopefully we get some more Final Fantasy XI references, because those were always fun, and hopefully some references to other single-player Final Fantasy titles as well. That would be really nice to get some inspired gear from various enemies and sort of things like that in the past. There's no sort of confirmation when we're getting the first sort of dungeon type thing, a bit like Baldessian Arsenal. That was referenced a while ago, many more patches previous in a live letter back then. They mentioned the existence of such a place, but at the same time they are saying that the story will be mandatory for both directions you go, but you will have the choice of doing either this field instance or through a quest series, which is pretty good, I think you'll agree. But at the same time, you have to guess what that other quest series would be. In the past, we've had relic grinds with light farms. We've had things that you had to purchase with poetics, for example, other currency that you collect. We had to do hunts. We had to do various things to get pieces for that, depending on which relic you were going for. So there's a lot of things that could take the place of that are arguably more stressful to some people. Personally, I love the idea of Eureka. I've said before in one of my tea times that I've sat there and grinded for hours and hours and hours, and it kept me highly entertained whilst I was talking to my friends and actually made me more sociable than anything else. I think it's a really nice social piece of content, but I would imagine if you were alone and you weren't talking to anyone, it would be quite painful. But it's the sort of thing I could easily switch on, log into the game, and just go grind for 35 hours whilst chatting to my friends during an entire week and finish a weapon. So it kind of also allows for more future-proofing. You might have seen a video I did quite a while ago that was quite successful. I said Eureka needs a phoenix down. The entire reason I made that video is because I really wanted to expose the idea that even though they've nerfed certain aspects of Eureka, there are still problems with spawning certain fates, and especially in High Dartos, it isn't nerfed nearly quite enough to actually do it in a relatively decent time. They tried to future-proof it, but it still relies heavily on having other players around to actually do it. Now, it's not to say that it's impossible to complete a High Dartos weapon tomorrow. It's just a very, very painful thing to do if you are a solo player, and has always been the case. But you could pug this stuff back when the content was relevant. Now it's kind of like there's no one in there. So unless you have a group of friends with you, it's going to take you an ice age. So at least in this regard, with 5.3's iteration and onwards, we're getting the option of doing it or not. So the one day in the future where this content does inevitably become very much dead and people do not queue into it because it's no longer relevant in an expansion or two's time, for example, even like a few patches in time, then you will still be able to get those relic weapons by essentially doing another route, if the route isn't completely painful. Which it might very well be. You can't have an easy route and a hard route. Both have to be time consuming. Otherwise, it isn't a relic weapon, right? I know it's called the resistance weapon, but it is a relic weapon at the end of the day. They are weapons of power. They will be evolving over time. We'll get glowy versions, then we'll have a change of that model. It's very exciting to me, and I really hope that they work on stuff that's really exceptional this time. The Realm Reborn relics are still some of my favorite in the game. The Heavenswood ones are fantastic as well, also in my opinion. The Stormblood ones, whilst I have several of them, I actually prefer the non-glowy versions of the final stage than the actual full High Dartos version, but that's a personal preference, but I still like them. But they're not quite on the same par, I don't think, as the previous gear, especially the previous relics from, if you were to compare them side by side, especially when it comes to the White Mage stuff. I think you'll agree with that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to any of this stuff, but essentially 100 players in a field instance as usual, lots of fates, lots of things to do, and presumably lots of gear, minions, mounts and stuff to collect. I'm all about that. I'm in. All they had to do was mention Eureka style content and we're straight in with that. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video sort of hypothesizing about this and where they might go. But I think a lot of people sort of hear the phrase like Eureka and suddenly get sort of like flashbacks, but at least they've given an option not only to future-proof but also to give much more variety, and I think that's something that they needed to do. I don't think just reiterating Eureka again without another option would be a very healthy thing to do for the game in many ways, and there are different types of grind. We've talked about this before. There's a grind where you aimlessly keep going and keep going and keep going, and there's a grind where you have goals and set purposes that you can achieve in separate stages. So it'll be interesting to see the comparisons of those. Probably when this content comes out, I might get my alt to level 80 and do a relic on my alt at the same time as my main character, and then compare the stages, because of course I'll have guides to all of this stuff as well in the future. So I'm very hyped for this. I just wanted to talk about it. You could probably tell how excited I am for more content like this. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but they seem to be catering for more people this time around. They do say there will be more details about the Bozjan Southern Front in the next iteration of the live letter. They say they're undecided on when this is going to be added to the game, and the quote was most likely in 5.35. So it's not directly in 5.3, but a subsequent patch after that. So imagine maybe 2 to 4 weeks after that. I believe that they're still heavily working on that, especially with the stay-at-home order at Square Enix. There's a lot of work from home stuff going on, and I very much doubt that they've completed anything like that. They're focusing heavily on the Alliance raid testing and other parts of the main storyline, including the new trial, and obviously the storyline, which is supposed to conclude Shadowbringers, which is all the hype indeed. But anyway, thank you kindly for watching. Let me know what you think about more Eureka style content, whether you like the idea of having an alternate path, or if you think there should just be one path straight through, because obviously it dilutes the amount of people doing different pieces of content. Let me know below, and I'll see you all next time.